hip hop, hip hop, hip hop, hip bars is back, hip hop, Sam and oh God, what's up with you?
All right, you tuned into another special episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. I'm your brother, Old God, from Hip Hop News Uncensored. Sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man, Sam, and Viral Hip Hop News. Like my cousin said, man, you're building for a very special episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. We have royalty in the building of the podcast this afternoon. Very rarely do we have royalty, but today we have royalty. We have none other than Joseph Marcell in the building of the podcast. Sir, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, gentlemen. A little hot because it's London is like a furnace at the moment, but I'm very well, and it's good to see you.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to have you on. London is like a furnace. Now, you don't often hear that. You got a heat wave going on. What's going on in London right now with the weather?
I don't know. I mean, it's like they say it might be global warming, or that we're just lucky we're having a wonderful summer. After lockdown with COVID-19 and all that, yeah, it's just amazing. I mean, and these are brick houses, you know, so they retain the heat. Yep. So nights are just unbearable.
Wow,
so it's better than rain.
So over in the UK, how has it been with COVID as compared to the United States of America? Is it very, very bad? I heard you say lockdown. How was it?
Well, we were in lockdown. I was touring with a play called Alone in Berlin, and we were furloughed on the the 8th of March, and I was at home from the 8th of March to about the middle of June, almost 15, 16 weeks.
How is it now?
And now it's kind of all right. We're just beginning to get into the ritual of wearing a mask when we go shopping, when we go to the park, when we're in public places. But it's still what's the word? Treacherous, I think is the word, because you really don't know what it is you're fighting. You know, you have no idea. You know, it's like walking on a tightrope, my friends.
Now, how is it from? Now, obviously, you're in London in the UK. It's an entirely different country from America, but you have obviously connections out here. How is it looked at and perceived, America, what we're going through, and obviously with the presidency, COVID, social injustice? How is America perceived from the outside looking in?
That's a tough one. I don't have many friends, and I don't want to lose the few that I have. What I would say is this: we have socialized medicine. So we have a national health service, and our national health service has been, just unparalleled. It's been the most extraordinary thing. Nurses, doctors, ambulance workers. I mean, they have been extraordinary. They have held the country together. I mean, so the comparison with the USA is that we have socialized medicine.
Yeah, and it was a video, I think, I forget the guy, Michael Moore. He did a video going all over the world showing that you know, you can go in these places and get health care. Pretty much, I guess, free health. You pay for it, but pretty much it's free health care, right? Could you explain that, the socialized medicine?
Well, it works like this. You pay your Social Security on your tax as part of your taxes, right?
Yes.
In the USA, yeah. Well, in Britain, we pay what is known as national insurance. So it's the same as Social Security, except it pays for the National Health Service. It pays for policing. It pays for libraries. It pays for the whole thing. And so a percentage of your weekly wage goes to the government, to the exchequer, to pay for the National Health Service. So rather than having your own personal insurance, you have a national insurance where, you know, in Britain, let's say 45 million people are the workforce. You are part of a 45 million a group that pays for the National Health Service. So it takes care of your children. yourself, your mother, your elderly parents. You can with confidence go to the doctor. You can with confidence go to the hospital if you've broken your leg or anything like that. You get to stay in hospital if it is absolutely necessary. There is not necessarily a time limit on how long you can stay. There are downsides to it. If you were to go to emergency medicine, the wait might be 6-7 hours because of the volume of work, volume of people visiting and needing treatment. But yes, it may not be perfect, but it gives you a form of confidence that you can actually, if something, God forbid, something should happen, that someone would take care of you, and it wouldn't cost them too much.
Absolutely, because here right now, if you got cancer or something like that, you went to the hospital with no insurance, you're done. Over there, they would definitely take care of you. Now the work week over there, isn't it shorter than over here as well? Like what, 4 days or something like that?
Oh no, not in Britain. I think that's in France. But no.
Oh, okay, see, I'm wrong place.
I haven't quite got that there.
Okay. Definitely.
It's a 5-day week. Yes.
Okay.
Knowing that you're from St. Lucia, I was always curious, and if I ever had a chance to talk to you, I know I'd want to ask you this, and now you're sitting here, so it's crazy. Your journey from St. Lucia, going into the UK, coming over and beginning acting, can you walk us through a little bit to the best of your knowledge?
Okay.
Your journey, if you don't mind.
Oh, with pleasure. You have to remember that my parents were part of an invitation by the British government for countries that were part of the British Empire after the Second World War to return to the mother country, as Britain was known in those days, to rebuild after the Second World War. So they went to the Caribbean and Africa and India and Pakistan and all the Canada and New Zealand, all the countries that were part of the British Empire, and they were brought to Britain, and you had doctors and carpenters and electricians and nurses and people who worked on the subway, the whole gamut. My parents came. My father was a carpenter. My mother was a housewife. They came and they brought their children, and I came. I was about 8, and I was, and as you know, as you may know, as a son of an immigrant, you're expected to to do better than your parents, to become, I don't know, a CPA, So, an electrical engineer, something extraordinary, something that your parents, aspired to but did not have the wherewithal to do. So my father decided that I was going to be an electrical engineer, and that was fine. I mean, that was fine. I learned about electrics. In fact, when I was unemployed as an actor, I'd work as an electrician. So it was perhaps a priceless gift.
Yeah.
And then I was doing what was known as industrial training. I was doing my education at that time was something called a higher national diploma, which was just before a degree in electrical engineering. You had to do 2 years, and you had to do practical industrial training. And I was doing industrial training at the first water-cooled reactor power station in Britain, in a place called Southampton, which is down on the south coast near the Channel, near France. And I'd spend 5 days there, and I'd come home on weekends. And my friends would pick me up, and we'd go off, and do the things that young men do, drink and chase girls, etc., etc. One day we were crossing from, in London, a station called Waterloo Station, which is the station that takes you to the south coast. And we were crossing into the city of London, just walking across. And we passed a theatre called the Aldwych Theatre, which was the home of the Royal Shakespeare Company. And my friends and I noticed that there was, outside the theatre, there were these huge enormous billboards with these black actors and entertainers and singers. And we'd never seen that kind of stuff before in Britain. I mean, just extraordinary, in amazing, powerful poses and things. And so my friend said, we must see this. We must see this. I mean, these are, 19, 20-year-olds are going chasing girls. We're not interested in the theater. We weren't raised that way.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do it. It cost us, at that time, 1968, half a crown, which was 2 shillings and 6pence, which would be about 50 cents, 65 cents.
Okay.
And we sat up in the gods and we watched this thing. And it was the American Negro Theater playing in a festival called the World Theatre Season in London. And it was the most extraordinary thing. I mean, it was like the road to Damascus, where, there I was Saul and the Lord appeared and said to me, "You will do this." just extraordinary. And so from that time on, every weekend, before we went to commit our sins, we'd go off and we'd go to the theater. We'd go and see something. And then it kind of stuck with me. I thought, well, I got my national certificate, and I thought, well, this is it. I want to be an actor. And I knew nothing about. I'm the son of a carpenter from the Caribbean. What do I know about acting? I don't know. I know acting is acting, but I don't know how one goes about such a thing. And so one of my friends said, well, if you want to be an actor, most actors live in a part of London called Hampstead. That's where you want to go, because that's where all the drama schools are, et cetera, et cetera. So I thought, okay. So I talked to my father, and he was outraged. I mean, he just, I brought you in. I'm going to take you out. If that's what you want to do, just terrible. But my mother was a little more palpable. She kind of said, well, we'll find a way. We'll do it. So I left home and I moved to a part of London called West Hampstead. And then I started, getting acting lessons. I got a mentor. I went to a drama school called the Hampstead Studios and stuff like that. And in 1970, I graduated. I did my first job, which was some children's theater. And at that time, you had to do children's theater because you couldn't become a member of the union until you were working, but you couldn't work until you were a member of the union, the usual Catch-22 stuff. And I went off to rep, which is a bit like summer stock. I went off and I did lots of plays, and then I came back to London in the winter of 1971, and my agent at that time said, the Royal Shakespeare Company are looking for non-white actors, and I think they haven't seen you, so perhaps we ought to send you up. And I went to see the Royal Shakespeare Company. I did an audition, and I think my speeches were a speech from Julius Caesar and, oh my God, something, I don't know, that's something else anyway, a Shakespeare and a modern piece. Mm-hmm. And in January 1972, I became a member of the Royal Shakespeare Company, my third job. I stayed with them for a while. I played on Broadway in 74, 75 in a show called Sherlock Holmes, which we brought from London. I went off to California after that because I couldn't, at that time, one had to go to California. You had to see California. You had to go to Oakland, had to go and see where the life was. And that's my story. And I don't know why it was, but it seems that the whole Shakespeare thing was something that came natural to me. So I did that, 87% of my career has been Shakespeare.
50 years in acting. Did you think that back then when you started, you'd be 50 years in acting?
Not in my wildest dreams. Not in my wildest dreams. I mean, there's things that have happened that I with me, I didn't know it then, but it was more about fulfillment. And so my fulfillment came from working. So I just needed to work all the time. And I didn't really care. I didn't specialize. I knew I wasn't tall, dark, and handsome. I was short, not too, short, dark, and not too pretty. So there were things I had to do. So I didn't particularly want to be in movies or in television or any of those things. I wanted to be a stage actor. And God bless me, and with all the grace there is, I've been in some pretty iconic television shows and films and stuff like that. But that was never my intention. My intention was to be a superb stage actor. No, I never imagined it. I never dreamed. Even now, I'm sitting here, messing about with my garden, and oh God, will I work again? It's kind of, did my agent call? Oh my God! But no, I never imagined it. But it has been a terrific ride. I mean, I have done some of the most extraordinary things. I have played, I've played Othello, I've played King Lear, and we toured it on the east and west coast of the USA. I've done Derek Walcott's epic poem, Umaros. I've done some extraordinary things, and most of all, to answer your question, I have been made a cultural ambassador for the island of St. Lucia, which is the most extraordinary thing. No, I never imagined.
Now, being from St. Lucia by way of the UK, going through Hollywood, were there any obstacles being Black and being, having an accent and being from where you're from that you had to overcome?
Okay. Yeah. Firstly, being Black in Britain at that time, the signs were no dogs, no coloreds, no Irish. Those were the signs. You saw those in windows. The thing about Caribbean people in Britain, and I'm sure it's the same in France, in America, wherever, is that you have a determination, a drive that just forces you to pursue what it is that you want to achieve. And I remember when my first audition for the Royal Shakespeare Company in that winter of '71, and coming to my agent and saying, if I don't get in, it's race. I mean, it's racialism. I mean that because even I was impressed by what I did. It's those kind of things. And there have been lots of jobs that I've not had because, et cetera. But really, what it has done for me. It has made me stronger. It has made me more determined. But it also, I will not allow myself to fall in the old. There's an old Caribbean saying that most people love is black man a suffering, and I ain't going into that black man a suffering bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And that's what I try to. That's how I try to live my life, and that it's an ill wind that blows no good.
Wow.
And there are how many billions of people in the world? One person will like you. You don't need all of them to like you.
Yeah, very true. Powerful. Now, you talked about some of those iconic television roles, and obviously the one we ain't talked about. It took about 20 minutes, but we're finally going to get into it.
Yeah, let's get it.
Reese from Living Single.
I wonder which one that is.
Yeah, talk about Reese from Living Single. We all want to know. Nah, man. Obviously, Jeffrey, one of the most iconic roles you can ever play. Talk about, walk us through the Fresh Prince. Now, you got Janet Hubert, James Avery. You got, who's my
Alfonso Ribeiro,
Apparel.
Parsons.
Yes, Kenneth Parsons. Tatiana Ali, and then of course Will Smith being a rookie on the set. Talk about auditioning and then looking at a young Will being the star of the show, but being the baby in the pup when it comes to acting.
It really was interesting because I was actually working on an American play, an August Wilson play, the first London production of Joe Turner's Come and Gone in 1990 when this thing came up, and they sent me some stuff and said put it on tape, and I put it on tape. We put it on TWA. It went back. It came to America. Pardon me, they looked at it, came back, sent it back, said, can you ask him to do it this way, this way, this way? I did it, they sent it back. And this weekend, they said, can he be in America on Saturday? And my agent said, well, no, he can't because he's just about to finish the play. But once the play is finished, he can, he'll be with you. Can't he get an understudy? And it was like, I'm sure we don't have that system. He's contracted to the 14th of August, and that's how long it's going to stay. And they were kind enough to say, well, that's all right, we'll wait. So we finished the production, and the next day, the Sunday, I was on a plane to to Los Angeles. I was picked up and taken to a hotel in North Hollywood, and I walked into the room and the phone started ringing and everybody knew me and I knew no one. I got through that evening, and then I was taken to NBC at Burbank, which was kind of famous to me in the sense because one of the big American shows in England at that time was the Rowan and Martin Laugh-In. And they were always talking about downtown Burbank and stuff. So there I was in downtown Burbank. And so they took me to the studios, and I wanted to smoke. So I went outside and I lit my cigarette and I was smoking away. And there was this huge, little old me, this enormous guy standing next to me, and he's smoking as well. He said, how you doing, man? I said, oh, I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Oh, you're British. Okay. All right. Solid. So we talked. I'm Joseph Marcell. I'm James Avery. I said, all right. So what you're here? I said, yeah, I flew in last night and they want to see me for this thing called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I don't know anything about it. He said, oh, they flew you in? I said, yeah. They flew you in? Yes. I kind of. Oh well, man. Oh shit. Well, then forget it. You're in, man. If they flew you in, you're fine. You're fine. So we started. So he calmed down. I calmed down. We started talking about theater and the plays and stuff. And he just performed His Wee Bandsy Is Dead, the Athol Fugard play, and we talked about all that. And I said, well, good luck. And so I went upstairs to meet the people, and I was introduced to all the powers that be, Brandon Tartikoff and Will Smith and Quincy Jones and Debbie Allen and all the important people. And of course, I was thinking, this is hilarious. It's when you have an out-of-body experience and you're kind of here looking at this thing, looking at yourself negotiate these things, trying to be interesting and stuff with people, and you're looking at yourself and you're thinking, oh my God, oh dear, this is funny. Anyway, so we get this thing and they say, we liked it, we liked what you did, and we'd like you to do it now live with Will. And Will came and said, what are you doing, man? We're kind of cool and we're doing it. And he says, you're funny, man. You are funny. I said, oh, well, thank you very much. And so we're doing this thing, and it's going, and they're falling about, they're laughing and stuff. And then Will sort of diverts and adds some jokes and stuff. And I'm going, I'm sorry. Is this a rewrite? I don't seem to have it. We went, no, man, I'm just, I'm riffing on the thing, man. I went, oh, I see. I didn't know. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let's do it. So we do it. But that moment where he just went off is like, and I'm so, I'm nervous. Yeah. And all of a sudden, everything's so important. I'm going, that ain't in the script. Could you see this in the script? You didn't write. What are you doing? It's not in the script. But we did. And then, of course, in the course of it, we discovered, that I really love physical comedy. I love, people falling over and tripping and that kind of stuff. And of course, Will loves that. And so we, as you can see in the whole show, there's always a moment where either Jeffrey's, demolished by the vacuum cleaner, or Will leapfrogs him or carries him or something silly. Yeah. But that's how it was. And so we did it. Debbie Allen directed the pilot. It was strange in the sense that what I had to do was I just had to relax. I just had to just be, and it was kind of difficult because I had this idea that I was this I was just really serious actor, man. I was a deep kind of person. And so it's kind of, no, stop that, relax, just enjoy it. Just move between the scenes from day to day. Just do your bit. And of course, I just started, I started doing that. And I can tell you honestly, that there was not one day that I was at work on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air that I wished I was somewhere else. I enjoyed every bloody moment of it. And I had some excellent people to work with. I mean, Alfonso was a scream. James Avery was just a lunatic. Such a cultured and wonderful man. And of course, the dear Karen Parsons, she was so helpful to me. I mean, she kind of helped me kind of just sit back and just be. And of course, as people got used to me, that I was not, I may have a strange accent, but I was just, I was a brother like everybody else. Life became better, even better. Yeah.
Definitely. Talk about the chemistry. Did it take you guys a long time to develop that chemistry that you had, or was it kind of instantaneous?
It wasn't quite instantaneous. It as you know, everybody except for Alfonso, I suppose, was new to that medium. We didn't have TVQ, but it happened. We did our first transmission. I think it was the 9th of September, 1990 or something like that. Anyway, around that time in September 1990. And we were I think we were contracted or penciled in for the first 7 episodes, and with the proviso that if it picks up, it'll go on. So that evening, when the show was transmitted, we were all in a restaurant somewhere, and the audience response was just so extraordinary that we were told there and then in the restaurant that we're going to move from 7 to 13 episodes. There and then, first showing.
Wow.
And then that's when we realized that's what kind of brought us together, made us understand that we have something special. Because by the time we'd finished the 6th episode, we were on 25.
Wow.
And we were in the top 5, that week, and that's what brought us together, and we could. Yes, it's true to say that we were not threatened by each other. We really enjoyed each other's company. There were some disruptions, but we're not in heaven. Nothing's perfect, but as perfect as it could be, we really got on well together. Yeah.
Now, I was going to ask you about Janet Hubert, because she obviously played the first 74 episodes of Avery before being replaced by Daphne Reed, playing 75 episodes. They played about the exact same time. You talked about during that 7th episode is when you guys realized and you seen the fans that something was there. Where did chemistry fall off with Miss Hubert and you guys, if you don't mind me asking?
It's perhaps important to be as honest as I can be. My relationship with Janet was very, very close, and I respected her. I thought she was just truly excellent at what she did. But we have print and be damned. The show is called The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and the leading actor in the show, the name that comes first is Will Smith.
Correct.
And that's how it is, and that's how it should be. And I feel that perhaps Janet was not able to deal with that.
So was it because you walk into a situation where you guys are highly touted, you guys have your various acting degrees and various acting repertoires, very prideful in that. And you see a Will Smith, who's an incredible rapper at the time, but not an actor. And then you hear the stories of him mimicking everybody's lines and things like that. Was it a respect factor, in your opinion, that maybe steered her away, or was it something different?
You have to take the fact that we're all new to this thing, this episodic success. You also have to accept that Will is beginning to learn his craft. That all of us, no, I mustn't say that. I can only say that for myself and maybe for James Avery. All of us, when we started, when we started doing plays and dealing with dialogue and all that kind of stuff, there were things that you had to do to keep on track. And I mean, if somebody's kind of talking while you're speaking, that's so what, no, it's more to do with the success corrupts. It eats at you. Success does not bring contentment and satisfaction. It brings, in most cases, in all of us, I suppose, not most cases, it brings out an avarice, a need to it brings out the question, how much is enough? Mm-hmm. How much is sufficient? And that's what success does. And so you are never satisfied. And I think for a lot of us, that was a very difficult thing to cope with. Yeah. But, however, we remained, even with our, kind of topsy-turvy ups and downs, we remained close and compassionate with each other. Yeah.
Was the whole cast in agreement with letting her go, or was it something like a executive decision?
Yes, that's, I don't know about, I'll give you my experience of it. I don't know about the upstairs bit. I'm sure, nothing is done without upstairs. So
right.
I was in London and I got a call, and I got a call from Will, and I got a call from James Avery, and I got a call from Janet. And Will was asking me, what do I think? Should Janet leave? Should he get rid of her? Should he support her? And I said, you have to do what you have to do. And if you must speak to Janet, you must sit her down, and the two of you, iron out your differences and come to a point of reconciliation. And then I got a call from Avery saying, what do you think? And I said, I cannot think. I don't have an opinion. I don't. We are We are 7 people with 7 careers, and you have to operate in a very selfish way because it's your career that's on the line. But I said to him, I will do nothing to cut Janet's legs from under her. I will say the truth, but I will not put the knife in her. I will not go to whatever meetings or debriefs and say terrible things about her, because that's not how I operate. She's a worker like me, and I support her. And then Janet called me, and I said, Janet, sweetheart, you have to look at it the way it's set up. It's Will's show, yeah. And he's given you as best. I'm sure he could give you more, but he's given you are the female lead of the show. You really are. And so ask for more money. Give you more money. Just don't create a political impasse that in the end you are the one who's going to suffer. And those were the words I used, and that was it. And then a few days later, I think, Will called me and said, we can't make a deal with Janet. We offered her a compromise, and she decided she didn't want it. And then a couple of days later, she had a time limit on the compromise, and she decided she would not accept it. And a couple of days later, she called and said, yes, I wish to accept it. And they said, well, no, it's gone past its sell-by date. So that was it.
Man, oh man. Now, I got a couple questions. I'll ask the first one. Did you guys know at the time, or did you know, watching Will going from non-acting to the global icon that he is now, that he'd get to the global icon that he is now?
Man, if I knew that, I'd be a billionaire now. I tell you, I'd be selling aftershaves and everything. I'd be selling, hair clippings, nail clippings. I'd be selling everything. No. But it was clear that I'm a mature man. I'm a granddad as well. So it was for me to see a young, one of us, a young man, being allowed to break through the constraints of race and all that kind of nonsense. It was just bloody extraordinary. And most importantly, I was in his company. When you think of Will Smith, you think of me, you think of James, you think of Karen, you think of
Ashley.
You think of
Ali.
Janet. You think of we are all part of him. And I mean, I must say, I have a certain pride, but I'm a sentimental old man. But I have a certain pride, yes. When I see Will, yes, I really do.
That's good.
Yeah, just say another one, but
go do you think?
Yeah. So I would say after the show, would you say that gave you a lot more opportunities after the show?
The show validated all the stuff I'd done up to that point. So rather than just being a jobbing actor, what the show did was show that, my God, this man has a tremendous talent. And that's what the show did for me. And of course gave me a nice pension, thank God.
Yeah, man, yeah.
Yes, that was it. So after I decided that it was perhaps best to do what I knew best, because now that I can do, yes, I can act reasonably well in television and film, that I see what I can go back to the stage. And of course I went back to the stage, and I got in involved again with Shakespeare's Globe, and I'm on the board of the US Shakespeare's Globe and the Council in Britain, and I started working with Shakespeare's Globe a little more, and I've done a whole variety of work that has come from my being in The Fresh Prince. But the most important thing of all is that it has allowed me a certain versatility that I don't have to repeat myself. I don't have to play Jeffrey over and over and over and over again, because what The Fresh Prince has done for me has shown the world that I am quite versatile. I can do lots and lots of different things, and for that, I mean, you cannot buy that.
Absolutely. Does it go ahead?
No, go ahead.
Does it bother you, Jeffrey? Right? Because I just texted a picture to my lady, and the second she saw it, she said Jeffrey. Like, people know you as Jeffrey. Does it bother you that people know you more as for Jeffrey than Joseph?
Well, yeah, sometimes. I mean, I'll give you a funny one. Where was I? Oh yeah, I was in Istanbul in Turkey, and we'd taken we were doing the world tour of King Lear, and I was playing King Lear, and I was walking through with some friends, other actors. We were walking through the city, and I think we were going to the Turkish bath or something, and as we got there, this woman came up to me. So we're passing, and she stopped, and she came up to me and touched my beard. She went, Jeffrey. And I said, oh, thank you very much. And she said something in Turkish that I didn't understand. And that was it. I mean, and everywhere I go in the world, I mean, you name it. I'm in St. Lucia. I'm in Malawi. I'm in Africa. I'm in Zimbabwe somewhere. I'm in Johannesburg. I'm in Kenya.
Wow.
Jeffrey. Wow. Yeah. Everywhere. Yes, it's been extraordinary. But the irksome part of it is this: are any of the guys married?
I can't really speak on it. I will be soon.
Okay, so we're in the supermarket, and it really doesn't matter if you're Harry Windsor or me, and you walk behind and you're pushing the trolley. And you're being told what to do, and you're putting this in, and you're doing this, and and then you get to the checkout, and everything's taken out, and you get your wallet out, and you pay. That's what you do. So, and you're pushing in, and you're in cleaners or something, and somebody comes. Oh, look at you! It's Jeffrey, isn't it? It's Jeffrey. Oh man, it's so good. And you go, look, I'm looking at toilet cleaners for my thing. Yes, Jeffrey. Yes, Jeffrey's getting his stuff, his Clorox in the loo. Yes, or you go to the dry cleaners or something. It's like, it's you, isn't it? It's you. And I finally got used to it. Now the obverse of that is that I'll go to a function. And I'm dressed up to the nines, and my fingernails are clean, and my no food in my teeth or anything, everything, no sleep in my eyes. I'm really good, and I walk in, and I think, what's going on here? Nobody's looked at me. Nobody's noticed me. What's going on? Mm-hmm. I don't often walk in the room and nobody notices me. What's going on? The other side of it, you get fed up when they like you. You get sad when they don't.
When they don't.
But no, it's I've got used to it, and it's pure magic, because it's I may not be a big movie star or anything, but most people grew up with us. And it's like an old uncle. It's beautiful, and I get sentimental about it, but it's 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 what I have finally distilled down to be grace. It's grace.
James Avery, can you give us one of your fondest memories of James Avery, and how did you take it when he passed away?
Oh man, it's actually more complicated than that. It was I who called his wife, and we took him to emergency medicine when this whole thing started. Because I was one of the things he said to me was when the show was over, he said, "Well, you are going to stay for a while. I mean, you got to strike while this iron's hot." So I said, "Yeah, I'll stay. I'll find myself a hotel or something else." He said, "No, you're coming to stay with me." Excuse me. I have space. You can have the gatehouse. You can have whatever you like. Just come and stay. Like, I stayed with him from 2000 to good 10 years.
Wow.
And we got even closer. He came to my wedding in 95 when in London when I got married. So we got really close. And the thing I loved about him was he had a brain like an encyclopedia. I mean, James could remember all sorts of kind of obscure information and stuff, and I really admired it. I just like, where'd you dig that up, man? You got that up. You didn't even go and go to a library and you just pull that out of your head and stuff. Just terrible.
Right.
So clever, so good. What a retentive brain. But on the serious side, these are my last moments with him. Mm-hmm. He said he wanted to go down to SAG to deal with some stuff, the Screen Actors Guild, and so we drove to Burbank. We went to the Screen Actors Guild. Then we went to the doggy park in Laurel Canyon, and we did that. And then he and I went to dinner, and we came back. And I had to go off to Santa Monica to see my accountant, and I came back late. Well, yeah, about 8 p.m. mid evening, and I could hear him kind of talking to himself. What's going on? So I go in and say, "Hey, James, what's going on? Are you all right?" He said, I can't. Oh, this is weird. He couldn't string the words together, and this is the man with the most amazing retentive memory. Mm. So I called his assistant and I said, "I need you to call Barbara and tell Barbara I think James is not well. He's just he's panicking. I don't know." So Barbara calls his wife. She calls him, and she calls us back and says, "Yes, I think there's something wrong. Can you guys get him downstairs?" Little old man, this huge man. Mm-hmm. So we somehow get him downstairs, and he helps, and we get him into the living room, and he sits down, and and we wait for Barbara, and Barbara comes, and Barbara gets an ambulance, and we take him to Burbank Hospital. I mean, not Burbank.
Sherman Oaks, maybe.
No, God, it'll come to me in the valley. It's
Northridge,
near Griffith Park. Oh God. Anyway, the hospital's about 3 miles away. Anyway, so we take him there. They have we wait, and they he has a once over, and they say they're going to keep him in. So we stay. Then the doctor says, "Go home, come back tomorrow." But Barbara said, can I, she'd like to stay. So they said, well, you can stay for a couple of hours and then you have to go. So we go. Next morning, we're told everything is fine. And so I go to visit him. And he's sitting up in bed, and he said, get my assistant to bring my dogs to me, will you? And can you get me a McDonald's Big Mac? And no, James, you can't have a Big Mac. Sorry, I can't do that. I can't do that. So we bring the dogs, and one of the dogs just didn't want to have anything to do with him. It actually ran away when the dog saw him. But anyway, that now with hindsight that looks meaningful. Then it was just foolish and silly animal. So we do this. Now this is what? Is this November 2013, October, November 2013? I can't remember. And so I had to go off to the desert with some friends because I had agreed to do this. So I go off to the desert. He stays in hospital, and he's fine. I come back from the desert a week later. I think it's about the 14th, 20th of November. And I go to see him. Everything's fine. He's really improving and stuff. And I said, well, I have to go to London, and I'll see you in January. Great. We say ta-ta, and everything's fine. And I come to London. We have Christmas. Everything's fine. And it was the night of the 31st of December. We get a call from Barbara saying that he passed away. And it was just, how do you when you have a pen in your hand, sort of like this, and it drops and you just miss it. It's like that. It's like it's inexplicable. I just can't explain it. But that's the closest image I have. It was right there, and I just couldn't catch it in time.
What was the cause of death? If you don't mind me asking, I don't think I ever heard.
The cause of death was old age, exhaustion, diabetes. Yeah. And he what's the stuff with when you have to have the stuff on your kidneys? What's it called?
Dialysis.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well, shout out to Atlantic City, James Avery. He wasn't from Atlantic City, but he was born and raised out here.
Oh, yeah. He was. I went to his home, and we spent time with his mom. We were really close friends, And I know where he lived in Atlantic City, where he grew up, and everything. Yeah.
We're a mile down the road from it.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah.
Absolutely. What else? You got anything over?
I'm good.
All right. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Mr. Marcell. My goodness, for this last 53 minutes, you were talking about an out-of-body experience. I was about to say, shit, I'm having one right now, sitting here looking at Butler having a conversation like, my goodness. Any lasting remarks that you have for the people that have enjoyed this for the last hour? We definitely appreciate having you on, sir.
Well, thank you. And what I want to say most of all is that, it's the thing that we are pushed to believe that we have no respect for our elders. We do not appreciate their achievements. We don't acknowledge that they may have made a contribution. And gentlemen, what you have done today has shown that, I'm proud to be part of you. I'm proud to be part of you. And thank you. You've made an old man very happy.
And yeah, that's an honor. The pleasure is definitely ours, sir. When we put this out, people are going to go, oh, you interviewed him. Yeah, we did. We interviewed Mr. Joseph Marcell. You're more than welcome to come on the platform anytime. Yes. Just an honor, sir. Thank you very much.
Well, just let me know and I will come. No problem.
An honor. Thank you, sir.
Take good care.
You too.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.